Welcome to the 624 Pod, your home for all things independent films. We're going to discuss all the positives and negatives when it comes to independent filmmaking. We're going to have incredible guests from the film industry talk about behind-the-scenes experience, the good, the bad, the ugly, and how the industry has changed in the past 10, 20
minutes.
30, minutes, hours, years. That's the point. It's always changing. And of course, we will always focus on independent filmmaking right here in our state of New Jersey. I'm Tom Baldinger.
And I'm Mark Rigodano.
All right, let's do this.
So, Tom, I'm excited this week. Tell me who our guests are.
Our guests, we got quite a number of guests for season 2, and those who have been listening and watching, you can watch us on YouTube channel, the 624 Podcast channel, and you can also watch us. Listen, I keep doing that. Watch us on podcast. Listen to us on podcast on all podcast channels, Spotify, Amazon,
wherever podcasts live, you can find us.
Exactly. So our next guest tonight is your co-star.
Yes. From
our series that's going to be premiering soon in December this month, and and it's probably at the time people have already seen, checked out. Our guest is Deanna Giulietti. Deanna, thank you so much for joining us.
Go Deanna.
So Deanna, you are, and that's not a really good, you are a social media influencer. You're huge on TikTok. You're huge on Instagram. You're huge on Facebook. I've watched a ton of your videos. So, and it sounds like the cops are coming after you right now.
They are.
Here they come.
Here they come. That's it. It's all downhill here for you.
I do.
So
I just moved to the city, and I moved like midtown, and I live above a fire. I was gonna say I live above a fire extinguisher, but I live above the firehouse. Is literally maybe connected to my apartment, so when they leave, I always hear them. But they'll pass.
No,
but yeah, that's what you're hearing right now. That's the alarms you're hearing. They're going to save the day.
I love it. I absolutely love it. So when
I thought you dyed your hair blonde because you were on the run and the cops are coming after you.
Right.
You're like the renegade.
Oh, yes. For everyone tuning in tonight for Checked Out, I am a brunette babe. But
yes,
we filmed. Are we allowed to say when we filmed?
Sure. Go ahead. Yeah, you can.
Yeah, we filmed this way earlier this year. February?
Yes, that's right.
And I was a brunette girly, and I just recently dyed my hair blonde because it's a new chapter of my life. I turned 30 August 21st, and I had been like thinking of dyeing my hair blonde for years and years. And then I was like, it's time. New chapter, girl.
I love it. Absolutely love it.
Fantastic.
So tell us about what's going on. You've been doing a lot of Broadway. You've been on Broadway. You've been doing a lot of singing. You're doing a lot of performance. So talk to us. What's going on in your life?
Yes. Well, I've always wanted to be on Broadway, and I kind of fell into social media. I kind of fell into being an influencer, and I was really good at it. And so I kind of just like ran with it. I was like, oh, wow, people love to just hear me tell funny stories and be myself and try new makeup things and fail at them. People love that. So let me just run with this for a while. And I have been doing the whole influencer space for 3 years, and it completely changed my life. And this year, I really wanted to shift things back towards performing in any way, because it became really just me and the camera every day, all day, just me talking to myself and my TikToks and doing the dances and doing the makeup tutorials. But I was like, I've trained for musical theater my whole life. I've always wanted to be on Broadway. I need to start bringing that back, slowly introducing that to my audience of like, there is another side to me. I'm not just like a funny girl. I also can sing. And then this year, I was lucky enough to just be working directly with Times Square. Did you know Times Square is like a person? Did you know that?
It's like its own thing. I used to live on 40th and 8th, and where the Times building is now. And
you're in that was the heart of the heart.
Yeah. And it was like, and this is, it wasn't, they were on the way to cleaning it up. This was back in the like mom and pop shops and porno theaters, and don't confuse the two. That's a whole different genre. But it was I Times Square, and it's probably even more now because this is like right when MTV started filming. You remember was it TRL?
Yeah.
And they would film it, and they would have a whole section of Times Square where there'd be seats and people cheering. And it's become like that was like the birth of it becoming a legitimized person, where before it was a very seedy person. And now it's like last time I was there, I'm like, oh my God, like they shut the streets down. They have like their own things going on.
Yes.
I can't even imagine now, like your co-host, Mr. Square. I don't even know what you guys like. It's crazy how
it is crazy.
Populated.
And they do so much, like they do so much for the arts. It's like a group of people run Times Square on the ground now, and they put on these performances, and sometimes they just do acts of kindness and giving back to New York. Like it's just such a beautiful like humanitarian project now on the ground of Times Square. So I luckily enough got intertwined with the people of Times Square, and they've just thrown me opportunity after opportunity. Do I want to do a concert in Times Square? Do I want to perform on buildings in Times Square? Do I want to hand out roses to people and cookies to people in Times Square? Like truly just for good entertainment purposes. It has been the most wild year ever.
And that to me that's the essence of independent, right? So 624 Productions is an independent production company. The purpose of this podcast is to talk about independent productions, independent filmmaking, or if it's independent stage on the theater, like what you're doing. I've been watching you a lot, and I'm like, this is pretty awesome. Like she's taking it to the next level. She's
successful, independent.
Yeah, and I love it. I think it's great. And kudos to you for all the work that you're doing, and it's doing well.
Yeah, thank you. I have another performance. Oh, this is going to air later. I was going to say I have a performance tomorrow. Stop by, everybody.
Well, you know what? Actually, plug it right now because we'll put it part of a reel. So go ahead, plug it right now. So what's going on with you? So what's going on with you soon?
I am going to be performing at Rise New York inside the and we're back. I'm going to be performing at Rise New York inside the Torch with TikTok famous Santa Claus tomorrow at 3 p.m. So if you're in the mood for some holiday joy, I'm going to be singing with Santa in Times Square at Rise New York. So stop by.
Yay.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. Now, have you since checked out, have you worked on any other I know you, like we were saying, you're doing a lot of theater. Have you worked on any other independent films, any other independent projects?
No, I haven't worked on any other films.
Good. You're not allowed to. You can only do it with us. No.
That's right. That's right. The last thing I did was a new musical that was coming off Broadway, and we did an investor run for the musical, and it was going to be so funny, and the script is amazing, the writers are incredible, but they lost funding, so it's no longer coming. And it's just so sad to see because there's so much good art out there, so 100%. Much good art that just needs like money backing, but it's that show. I mean, we put together an entire workshop, 3 days. We put on like a 45-minute show, and it was so good. We all left that space being like, this is really something. We really have something hilarious here that could be the next Titanic off Broadway. We just found out like a week ago that they had to cut it.
Have you guys thought of like, have you guys thought about filming a version of it and putting it out for crowdfunding of some sort?
Honestly, it's a good idea. Honestly, it's a good idea, but they have to assemble like a new team of people, that could do that.
Can you tell us and our audience what that show, the name of it is, or
I can't say the name. I can't say the name because we're still hopeful that
Gotcha.
one day they come back.
Understood. Totally. That's fantastic. And
but exactly to your point, more independent work, people like putting their everything on the line to make something happen. And then you don't have control sometimes. Sometimes it really is just the money.
Yeah. I find it interesting because, like, you know, we're recording in New Jersey, but I'm finding a lot of people, and so it's so refreshing to talk to you because you're in the opposite space. I feel like a lot of the people of my generation left New York because they needed to find places that they could make art and make things, because it was like the rent in New York's too high, is too high for to work on projects. So like you have to like really, like you were doing it with a bunch of other social media influencers, you have to have people with names like influencers and stuff to get things moving, because it's too expensive to try to work independently.
Yeah.
And I think it's so refreshing that you moved into New York and you're in Times Square and you're doing the independent spirit, but you're a name. Like you have pull, and it's so awesome to hear. But it's also so awesome to hear people going back into New York, because if you're outside of New York and you talk to somebody, they're like, New York's so dangerous now. It's so horrible. And it's like, I go back all the time and it's not dangerous. It just smells more like weed. Like, but I mean, it's the center where all the theater stuff's happening, and it's where all these great things get launched, and things, the off Broadway and off Broadway scene is what launched so much amazing stuff that's now mainstream.
Yep.
Because it had a launch pad, and it's so great to see it coming back and things happening, and it's just so cool, because I feel like everybody else can't wait to go in the opposite direction and poo-poo it. I don't know, no way in New York.
No, and you mentioned Titanic. So have you seen it?
Of course I've seen it. That show is the perfect example. Off-Broadway musical, better than anything I've seen on Broadway. I'll go back again and again. It is hilarious. It is fabulous. Have you seen it?
I have not, but we had the star of the show, Jackie Burns, on our podcast, and she's also in Unsuited, and she's excellent. She's so talented.
Fun.
She's a lot of fun. She's incredibly talented. I gotta connect you with her. I think like she's, unless you already have, maybe you
two of you.
Yes, I've connected with her. I
awesome.
Also after the show went up to her and I was like, "You're just a genius inside of a woman. Like you're amazing. Like you have to see her in the show." All listeners, this is now a promo podcast for Titanic.
Yes.
Jackie Burns is so incredible as Celine Dion. It will literally make you rise out of your seat. It was so good.
They got extended for another 6 months, she told us.
Yes.
So they're playing straight through to the end of June, I believe, is what she said. So I'm excited. So after the new year, my wife and I we made a commitment that we're gonna go see Titanic after the new year. That's the holidays and everything.
Get ready for like an outlandishly, like, oh my God, amazing time.
I'm so excited to hear all that. Like, you don't understand. Like when I was a youngster back in my early days in New York, like we used to go to off-Broadway shows, off Broadway, and see like Philip Seymour Hoffman acting and stuff. And he wasn't really a name. It was like he was like, everybody was like, oh, he's just like the chubby blonde dude that's really good and everything. And like, oh yeah, I think I seen him in Boogie Nights. Like, isn't that the guy from Boogie Nights? And then it's like years later, I like can't even believe like I drank beer with him. And it was like, that was the whole idea of like independent and off Broadway and like creating. And it made it was like an incubator for all this beautiful work that would later be launched, you know, and it's exciting times.
It is. It definitely is. And it's even more exciting with the SAG agreement has come to fruition. People are going back to work. I'm seeing commercials now of, TV shows are coming back, new seasons starting up. So, and it brings me to my next question for you, Deanna. As a social media influencer, there was an article that came out in the New York Times it was a couple months ago, maybe it was a month or two ago, talking about what was going on with the independent world, social media influencers. Can you talk to our audience a little bit about what that process was for you as a social media influencer, being you were hired to expand the footprint on certain projects. Were you handcuffed? Were you not handcuffed? Like, what was that process for you going through that with when SAG was going through their issues?
So I guess some of the perks of being the influencer that I see as a perk is these big productions use us to promote their shows. So like Barbie, for example, the movie Barbie
Mm.
would use me to help promote Barbie. You'd think like Barbie doesn't need any more promotion, but they usually come to us. So there were movies that were coming out and TV shows that were coming out during the strike where the actors were obviously striking and not promoting their show. So these big networks, Netflix, they were reaching out to influencers and paying influencers double, triple their rates because they were like, you're not an actor, you're not in SAG, this strike doesn't apply to you. How much money can I throw at you so you can promote this movie? Because we have no actors right now.
Yeah.
So then you're just like, okay, if you just look at it, you're like, oh my God, they're offering me so much money to just say, hey, I loved the Barbie movie.
Yeah.
Sounds easy. But during the strike, it was like, if you say that and you help support this movie, you're basically saying that they don't need to use the ad. They don't need to pay actors livable wages to promote their movies. They don't need to like use them and go to them. They can use alternate sources. They don't need to comply with the strike at all. So it was just a very confusing time, I guess.
Yeah.
But like,
It put you guys in a bad
supposed to do?
position.
Yeah.
That's great. I thought, honest to God, I thought you were going to pull like a Jiminy Glick. Like you gave this big wind up and you're like, as a social media influencer and as a, you know, with the strike going on, what's your favorite cereal?
That would have been better, probably. This is why you should be hosting and I should just be over there.
Oh, no, I just make jokes. I'd be a horrible host.
You should just do it
You're
yourself.
great host.
So given that, so now that, you know, SAG's back to work, everybody's back to work. Are you seeing more people coming to you for your social media influence and promoting, you know, big productions, small productions, medium productions?
Yeah. Yesterday, Sony Pictures had hired me to promote their new rom-com.
Okay.
So it's all back to, it's all the same. You know, it's like,
So
I'm happy that I wasn't a scab because
yeah.
it's all, they're still utilizing influencers and they're now paying livable wages and they're paying royalties to actors. And now it's all, you know, it's like,
Yeah. But
I'm
talk to me,
happy
how do you as a
Was it
social
sorry?
media influencer do that? If you're so they're coming to you, they're saying, Deanna, you know, we need you to promote our film. We need you to promote our TV show, but you're not in it. You know,
Yeah.
you have no association with it at all. This is an education for me. Maybe you guys already know this, but how does that work? Like, how do you promote something that you're not, you know, in it?
Well, there's before you even answer that, I think there's also a thing that the younger generation is smarter than we were when we were younger.
Yeah.
And so they know if the actor who's in the movie is telling everybody, you got to see this movie, it's so great. It's like, well, of course, because you're in it and they're making you say that.
That's a great point.
But if it's somebody who talks to them on a regular basis, they think they're their friend. You know, so it's like, oh, well, Deanna told us to see it. It must be good.
And is that's your goal, right?
Yeah, what you described is influencer marketing. Like that's
There you
why, like that's what it is. Because
There you
you
go.
see my face every day and I'm talking to you every day about everything. We're friends, you know, like sure, it's just me in my room alone talking to the phone, but you're consuming me every day.
Yeah.
And if I'm your friend who you check in with every morning to see your skincare, if all of a sudden one day I'm like, I'm so passionate about this movie I saw last night, you're more inclined to be like, oh my God, that's my girl. I go to her for all of my skincare stuff, but she's obsessed with this TV show. I have to check it out. It feels friendly. Exactly what you just said.
In
It's
the
better
80s
than,
or
you know, like
90s,
Willy
you would have
Wonka.
been a radio host, a morning radio host.
What?
In the 80s and 90s, you would have been a morning radio host.
Right.
Yeah.
You
Right.
watch people who listen to Howard Stern, they talk about him and all the people on it as if they're friends with him.
Yeah.
And so, like, that's how people see you, that she's my friend.
Yeah.
I
Right.
talk to her every day. Meanwhile, you've never heard of them, but
No.
but you know,
Well, then when I do, on a separate note, when I bump into real life fans in Times Square or something,
that
and they
has
come
to
up
be
to
cool.
me
Yeah.
and they pull up facts on me that I
Mm.
like maybe said randomly in a story or something, I'm always like, okay, fierce. Like, let's go.
I love
It
it.
does feel like we're friends. I'm like, you know more than my mom does about me. Awesome.
And I think that's an important tidbit for our audience, right? So, our goal here is to, talk about the successes and failures and specifically, I'll try that again.
Brought you for success and me for the failure.
but specifically like independent filmmakers, independent TV show makers we talked about this with a number of our guests. They don't think about the marketing of it, right? They create, we're creators. We want to, today you and I were just talking about, season 2 of Checked Out and coming up with these great ideas. But now we have to think about is, all right, how do we get it out there, right? How do we get people to watch it, right? And I think the independent filmmakers, independent production companies, I hope that they are utilizing social media influencers like you, Deanna, like that they're taking advantage of that, right?
Yeah. I mean, because it's bringing a brand to your brand. So, like, anybody who likes her work will hopefully like to see her work on your project.
Exactly.
So it's like everybody kind of gets something from the chain. It's the circle of life. But I mean, I think it's awesome, and I especially love like chatting with you, like when I first got to meet you, and then now even talking. And there's a couple other people that come to mind. Like, you were an artist first. It wasn't just oh, I'm gonna hop on this thing and just try to get famous to be famous, and then that's the end game. Like, you're an actor and you want to be telling stories, whether they're yours or whether they're, a playwrights or screenwriters. Like, I think that's awesome. And I think the people who look I don't want to say look down, but they have a negative view of social media
Mm.
because it's not how they started. I feel bad for those people because they don't get that this is the future. This is how the things work now. It's also why independent film's fun, because it's like now it's affordable to be able to actually make a film, or when you had to actually use film.
Yep.
It was like nobody's going out and shooting just like $100,000 feature film.
Right.
Now it's like, well, you can, like,
Yeah.
you could do it.
Yeah. And as long as the story is good, the content's good, you have a solid cast, and it doesn't have to, yes, it could be a name, but as long as you have good actors and a good crew and everything, and you get a good social media influencer behind it, like Deanna, then you're rocking and rolling. So as an artist that Mark brought up, have you ever thought about writing? Like a movie, a play, a TV show, an episode. Have you ever thought about that?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
I found a lot of success on my channel through like dating and sharing my stories of like, oh, failed dates, red flags, stuff like that. And
Mhm.
it sparked immediately in me. I was like, they love hearing about me trying to fall in love. What can I do to like blend those worlds? And immediately I should be writing a Hallmark Christmas movie. And I keep saying Hallmark, you know what I mean?
Yep.
I should be writing a cheesy fall in love Deanna Christmas movie because that's what my following loves to see from me.
Yes.
So, and we've
I-
talked about this.
What do you think I asked? I want to hear about it. Come on. I know
Yeah,
we
so-
talked about this when I first cast Deanna in Checked Out. I think we talked about it after we shot. Maybe it was before. I
think
can't
it was
remember.
I can't remember either, but
But
around
we
that
had
time.
we had a great Zoom call, and you were telling me about I want to write a story. I want to write a Hallmark Christmas love story. And so where are you on that process? How is that coming along for you? And should we hang up and should you and I have another conversation about it and start writing? What do you talk to me? Come on. We got another great writer right here.
I have just honestly, I've never written anything. I've never written anything before, and that's my hang up. I don't even know
Okay.
where to start. I don't, but yes, I want all of your writer knowledge on this of like, where do you think's the best place to start?
This guy, let me tell you something. This guy is a great writer. I can put the bones kind of on the plate a little bit, but it's people like Mark Riccadonna, it's people like Michael Satow, it's people like you, Deanna, who come up with these great ideas and formulate it and make it funnier and better. So, let's do it. I'm excited. I'm getting more
I
excited.
love that it stays on brand with you.
Yes.
That like you are who you are on social media. And it wasn't like I was waiting for your story to be like, yeah, I want to write this movie about this guy who eats people. And he
But my following wants to see makeup. No.
I love it. I think you definitely should. I think you definitely and when you're saying where to start, just with a pen and paper. That's it.
That's
Start
it.
with just you just got to write one paragraph. What's the story about? Then write 2 paragraphs and expand on it. Then write 3. And then next thing you know, by the end of the month, you go, holy crap, I think I got a script. I just have to make the dialogue.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly. One of the things that I think, Deanna, you and I might have talked about this, and Mark, I'm not sure if you agree with this this method. Someone taught me this or told this to me years ago, and I'm not going to date back how many years because I'm going to give away my age. But it was start with the ending.
Yeah.
How does it end? Then you put a pin in that end, right? And you put it over here and you say, okay, that's how I want my story to end. Now, how do I get there? Right. And that's how I write. So when I'm writing screenplays, TV show, whatever, whenever I'm writing anything, I think of how it's going to end. Like, what's my last scene in the TV show, the movie, whatever it is, or the play. And I think of how do I get to that point? And that's to me is the, not to sound, artsy, but that's the organic flow.
It's a podcast about artists.
Yeah, is that what we're doing? Oh,
We're
I'm on the
already
wrong
on-
podcast. No, but it's that organic kind of like process, right? And all of a sudden you start creating characters and storylines that, my fault is I come up with too many storylines and too many characters, right? And then eventually someone like you or others that I work with go, all right, Tom, cut this guy, cut that guy, cut this person, blah, 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 blah. But that's
you
the process.
immerse yourself in the whole universe, which makes it whatever you write real and happen.
But that's what, and thank you. But that's the advice to you is just put, I would say to you is like, what's the ending of your hallmark? Obviously, do they fall in love or do they not fall
They're
in
falling in love. They're definitely falling
love?
in
So
love.
they fall in love. How do they fall in love? How do they get there? What are the boundaries? What are the things that are, and I'm sure you have so many stories in your head, and it's just like, it's like stand-up comedy for you, right? You get an idea, you just start writing it down, and then you formulate your joke from it, I'm assuming.
If you just write a little bit every day, at the end of a month, you go, holy shit, I have a thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't think you have to write the whole thing overnight. Like it's not a college paper.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like
just chomp at it here and there. This is good. This is very inspiring.
See,
Get
this
that
is not
momentum
just a
flow
podcast.
going.
It's we're motivating and we're
That's
getting, we're
right.
getting things rock and rolling.
That's right.
I want to read it because my wife makes fun of me because I like the romantic comedies, the thrillers, I like the and she likes sci-fi, action, Marvel movies.
Oh, I love all that.
I'm the girl in the relationship. I mean,
I
guess
like
we're not
Marvel
supposed
as well. I like Marvel too. I like Marvel and I like rom-coms.
She makes fun of me because you can see what somebody watched on Netflix. So she sees what I really. So you were last night when you got home from your thing. You decided to watch. I'm trying to think of a
Christmas in
funny.
Paradise.
When Harry Met Sally.
Yeah. That's a great one. I might watch that tonight.
So Deanna, what's next for you? You told us you got a show coming up soon.
Yes.
Now are you're permanently in New York City? Or are you just kind of like hanging out for a little bit? What's going on?
I'm here until for the next year and a half. I'm here in this
Awesome.
apartment, smack dab in the center of everything. And for me, I'm going to be auditioning. Audition season, it goes from like January through March.
Okay.
In the city. So
Right.
I'm going to be there every day, showing up, trying to book my Broadway show. That's my 2024. I'm really putting it in this year.
That's awesome. We got to lock her down for checked out though for season 2. We got to lock you
That's
down
right.
because if you get a contract
Dates.
somewhere else, gonna have to work. We're gonna have to work around your because you're gonna get a shot. You're gonna get a show.
Yeah,
You
gonna
know.
be. We're gonna be like, all right, what hours can we get you out here?
Yeah. Can we
So
get
from
you?
checked out, we're
stage?
locking in checked out, and I'll work around it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, we ask a question of our guests all the time, unless you had something else.
No.
All right. So, but
I'm interested to know because now
So-
we kind of know your movie
yeah,
influences.
exactly. So we ask this question of all our guests, and it doesn't have to be any particular order. And I think we modified the question. So I'm going to ask the question, and then you're going to remind me, Tom, that's not how it is because I don't remember. So I'm going to ask what I think the question. What the original question is?
Okay.
Give us your top 3 movies.
Oh no.
Right? Did we modify that at all? Because some people came in with like 3, 4, or 5. But
Well, we had a lot of ties.
yeah, ties. That's what it was. Yeah.
And then because people would get overwhelmed by the question. So we're also saying your 3 favorite right now.
Right now. That's it.
We have 10 hours to kill. So you get to pick 3 movies that we're going to watch.
Okay. This is what did you say?
Oh, you can't get my answers. No, we want your answers. You can't be. Don't be looking on my paper.
See, this is really hard. This is really hard because
is.
I am like a basic girly girl who loves all basic things, and you two are movie buff screenwriters and are going
Not
to judge
really.
my answers. so
No.
wrong.
If you would have heard my choices, you would go, "Oh my god, I think so much less of you."
I don't think so. Okay,
Joe
what
Dirt
am I
was
gonna
number
say?
3.
Yeah, Joe Dirt was one of his films.
Oh, interesting. Okay, no, okay.
That
I
was
feel
my
safer
reaction
now.
too.
I feel safer.
There you
I love Vince Vaughn. I've seen every movie that Vince Vaughn has ever been in.
Hilarious.
So I think because I watched it last night, my 3rd place movie is going to be Couples Retreat.
Nice. Good
3rd
movie.
place, cute, funny. I think I might put Jurassic Park as 2.
Ooh, good film. That came 1994? That came out 94. I think you were just born then.
All right, fierce. It was made for me. Jurassic Park.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding. No, Jurassic Park. I remember seeing that movie in the movie theaters, and it
I love
scared the hell out of me.
Jurassic Park. I think
Did it scare you the first time you saw it?
No. You
Oh,
know, the
such a
first
good-
time I saw the first one, I was like, we need to work on these female characters because it was not really feminist. But
Jeff Goldblum was in it for the ladies.
for the ladies. And then as it kept going, we got like Jurassic Park 2, Jurassic Park 3. They really redeemed themselves. So now the franchise is better. But can I lump them all together? Jurassic Park, all of them.
It's the Jurassic Park chunk.
The franchise.
As 2. Because I love that. And then I think I would say number 1 is Pirates of the Caribbean.
Nice.
Now, do you like the what Orlando Bloom character or the Johnny Depp character if you were in it?
Johnny Depp. I was a Johnny Depp girl. I had a big poster of Johnny Depp. My whole
You like the bad boy.
bedroom door.
Nice.
You are a girly girl, but you secretly like the bad boy.
I like the bad boys. And Elizabeth Swann's fashion. That whole movie was also divine. I could probably quote it.
I love it.
That's great. I love it. Those are good choices. I like.
I
those.
like it. It was it's a nice mix up because I feel like a lot of people say the movies that they think we want to hear.
Right.
Okay.
So like they name movies that are like, well, you can't shoot that one down. It's a classic, you know.
Right.
Oh.
Everybody throws out Shawshank Redemption, right? Everybody, a lot of people throw that out, which is that's one of my top movies, right? But Casablanca, The Godfather, like everybody goes to, the classics.
The classics that you can't like really, it's like, yeah, I get it. You're saying the movies that are really important, but like what's important to you?
But are you going to turn it on right now in these next 10 hours? That was the question.
Yeah. Yep. And that's what, so mine were Joe Dirt. And then I had a tie that was Outside Providence, which is a book based on Peter Farrelly's life, if you're a Farrelly Brothers fan. And then number 2 was Something About Mary. Number 1 was Boogie Nights.
Boogie Nights, great movie. All good movies.
Yeah.
All good movies.
But everybody hears Joe Dirt and they just immediately drop their, oh.
I remember he told me this, and we were in the car together. We were driving to set, or I don't know where we were. We were driving, and we had this conversation of our favorite movies, and he threw Joe Dirt out there as his first. That was his first choice, and I literally almost drove the car off the road. I was like, Joe Dirt.
It was the first movie I ever cried at.
I still can't. How do you cry at that movie?
When he finds out that his parents don't want him, I was heartbroken.
Aw.
I just spent 2 hours laughing my ass off and enjoying this guy. And then all of a sudden his parents want nothing to do with him. I started crying.
Yeah.
And I was the kind of guy.
What'd you say?
Oh, mine changes all the time.
So
one of my
what's yours tonight?
Well, still The Dark Knight. I remember
cool.
seeing The Dark Knight. I remember coming out of that movie. Look, I'm a huge comic book guy, but I remember coming out of that movie because it was so amazingly written. The performances were. I didn't feel like when I left that movie that I saw a superhero movie. Like I remember walking out of the movie and I was mad. I was so pissed off. And my brother looked at me and he's like, "Why are you so mad?" I'm like, "I want to make a movie like that." Like that's how it was. Just so everything about that film. And if you guys remember, when that film came out, that was the last year of the Oscars where they would only have 5 nominations. And it was a big stink because it was The Dark Knight, it was Gran Torino, there was a couple other movies that were supposed to, they wanted the Oscars to expand the nomination list. And the Oscars, snubbed their nose at it and said, no, it's only going to be these 5. And Hugh Jackman was the host of the Oscars that year. And he did a whole opening rendition of it. And he talked about The Dark Knight and all these movies, the Gran Torino getting passed on. The next year, because there was such an outrage or a lot of people talking about it, the next year they went to 12 nominations, right? And they expanded because Hollywood, they realized, wow, there was so many good movies that were made that year that should have gotten, Heath Ledger won Best Supporting Actor, but there were so many movies. Gran Torino is a fantastic movie.
Yeah.
Totally got passed on.
I'm sorry. Everybody always talks about all the classics. We live in the golden age of entertainment, man. Look at the stuff that's on television.
Yeah.
That's on, like you look at HBO, just what they released like in the past 2 years, better than any other 2 years. Like we live in a renaissance right now of amazing work.
Yeah, we really do.
There's independent movies out right now that are just as good as the blockbuster films of before.
And we had a great we had Siobhan Fallon Hogan on a previous episode. Her movie's coming out in 2 days, Shelter in Solitude.
Yeah.
And you go watch it. It's fabulous. It's really, really independently made, shot in Syracuse and in New Jersey. A fabulous film. But yes, you're right. We live in an age where there's so much great content.
Spoiled. We are so spoiled. You can just turn on your television, a smart television, and find the movie you want.
Yeah.
There's no like going to like some weird obscure area of New York City and you have to go up 3 flights of stairs and they have, old episodes of a TV show that you can't find anymore.
Right.
Like I remember doing that. I have all these DVDs of television shows that were canceled, movies that had limited releases, and you'd have to go to these weird places, independent places that you could find these movies. And now it's like, if it's not on one of the major streaming services, you can probably find it on YouTube.
100%.
Yeah.
My other film is Blazing Saddles.
Okay.
That's such a good movie.
One of the unfortunately you can't make that movie today, but it is one of the most funny.
I think you can.
You think so?
I think so.
Deanna, have you ever seen Blazing Saddles?
Maybe, but give me more plot points. Maybe I don't know the name.
It's a black sheriff in town.
It's a black sheriff in town. And
Mel Brooks,
and it's hilarious.
Okay.
It's very good. You should watch it. But I think they can make it because Breaking Bad was so widely loved, and that's about a teacher who becomes a drug dealer,
right?
A meth dealer.
Meth dealer, yeah.
That's 1,000 times worse.
Watch it. Blazing Saddles makes fun of every race, every creed, and it's done so brilliantly that you're not offended. You just laugh. You're like, oh my God, this was brilliant. And it was written by Mel Brooks and Richard Pryor, the late Richard Pryor. Great film. I forget what my third was.
Shawshank.
I think it was Shawshank Redemption. Yeah, Shawshank. And I know that's you know,
but you talked about Shawshank since I met you.
I just anytime that movie's on, I have to watch it. It's just such a great. Oh, shut up. Deanna, thank you so much for coming on. We love having you on. These last couple seconds, it's your time to plug. Plug away, please. Where can people find you?
Everywhere.
You can find me everywhere. I'm on
Yes.
YouTube. My handle on YouTube is Peep the Shoes because I'm a fashion girly.
Love it.
And I'm on Instagram as Deanna Giulietti, and I'm on TikTok as Deanna Giulietti. Follow me everywhere. I'm always doing fun things every single day. And especially when this episode comes out, if you want to see what it's like auditioning, I'm going to be posting every day. You can see live time, what it's like going to the audition rooms, learning sides, doing self-tapes when you get home, only to get back up the next day, get into the audition room and audition again for a new show. So come follow me and have a good time with me.
Yay.
Awesome. We definitely looking forward to it. And we'll be in touch. We're going to get you back on for season 2 of Checked Out.
Yes.
We're going to bring you back on because you know what? Actually, we're going to have you come back on for season 2 for our podcast because we want to hear about that whole process of auditioning, what that was like, all of that. We really want, I think people want to hear that because that's what people want to, they want like, how does it work? I mean,
and your character
world.
to who you are. Your character and Checked Out to who you really are is like that's acting.
Yep.
Like,
oh my god,
acting
completely. Yeah. When people see Deanna and Checked Out, they're gonna go, "Wait, what? That's not her.
That's
this is not the person we see on Instagram and TikTok all the time."
Yep.
Deanna, thank you so much. Hang out here. We just got to give a nod to our sponsors, Central Jersey Nursery in Hillsborough, New Jersey. Great nursery. It's run by the mayor of Hillsborough, Sean Lapani, who was a guest of ours. Yes. So thank you, Central Jersey Nursery, located in Hillsborough, New Jersey. It's been around for 50 years. Mark, this was a great interview today.
Yeah. So happy you could come on.
Thank you so much, Deanna. You have a great night.
Thank you for having me.
You got it. Thanks. Welcome to the 624 Pod, your home for all things independent films. We're going to discuss all the positives and negatives when it comes to independent filmmaking. We're going to have incredible guests from the film industry talk about behind-the-scenes experience, the good, the bad, the ugly, and how the industry has changed in the past 10, 20
minutes.
30, minutes, hours, years. That's the point. It's always changing. And of course, we will always focus on independent filmmaking right here in our state of New Jersey. I'm Tom Baldinger.
And I'm Mark Rigodano.
All right, let's do this.